Welcome back to another episode of the Outsider Sports Baseball Podcast. Corey, Jason, John, Pauline, Dylan, Mel, and we're going to kind of get right into it here. We have a lot of remaining free agents. NFL free agency had started, and there's still some top MLB free agents still on the board. Blake Snell, not signed. Jordan Montgomery, not signed. JD Martinez, not signed. But I'm sure things are going to have to start moving quicker with these guys. You did have Garrett Cole go for an MRI on his elbow, gave me a heart attack and ruined my day. But I'm holding out hope that he's going to be okay. They say precautionary, but I don't know about you guys. I don't trust it. It
That's never a good
scares me.
sign
Yeah, I
when
mean, it was precautionary last year with Rodon too, until he had a 7 ERA on the season.
Same with
Uh,
Nestor.
yeah, I mean, a really, really rough day for New York sports fans. But
And Joey
hey,
Votto signing with the Blue Jays.
yeah, there
No,
is
John like that.
a
And
there's
then
a
JD
Saquon
Davis.
Barkley-esque
JD
hole in
Davis
the New York
was
sports land.
put on waivers from the Giants. The Yankees should look to pick him up. They can use somebody that can play the infield like that as a bench piece. He would be a really good option for them. So again, Blake Snell, Jordan Montgomery, JD Martinez still on the market. Joey Votto finally off of it with his hometown Blue Jays, and JD Davis put on waivers. Garrett Cole giving me a heart attack and ruining my day.
I
Let's
know
get
we're
right into this.
talking. I know we're talking Central, but Yankee question for you.
Let's hear it.
Um, with the Cole injury scare, do you
Okay.
think it makes the Yankees more likely to kind of cave into what Scott Boras wants for Blake Snell contract wise?
I'm going to say, as of right now, no. If Cole does go down and is out for the year, I think there's some stuff with the way
Because
the
it seems like they're
tax
playing for
threshold is
this season with Soto,
right.
Glaber,
Well,
Verdugo.
I believe if a player is out for the year, put on the 60-day out for the year, their salary doesn't count towards the luxury tax. It's covered by
Mm,
insurance if they're not playing. So they save money that way with Cole. They save 30 whatever $1 million on Cole.
yeah, well, let's hope that
Yes,
that's not the case.
I would rather Cole than Snell.
Yeah.
I had a debate with a friend of mine the other day. We saw MLB's rankings of top 10 aces, and I said for starters, we throw around the word ace too liberally, and two, I think there's maybe three aces in all of baseball at this point. There's number ones, but there's aces, which are the next level.
Yeah. Who were the three that you went with?
So, I didn't think too hard on it. I just looked at their top 10 and said, on this top 10, there's three guys that I would consider an ace, and that would be Cole, Luis Castillo, and Corbin Burns.
I would throw Wheeler in there.
I was going to say
I'm
I
not
thought
even a
Wheeler.
Phillies
I
guy.
thought Wheeler, but to me, Wheeler is the top of the ones.
I would take Wheeler over Castillo.
That's fair. That's where there's an argument, but I feel like there's not many guys you can make an argument for.
Mhm.
I don't think people like to talk about the Braves pitching, right? They have a lot of great guys.
Yeah, I feel like they're the ones category that
They're
you're
the
referring to.
ones. I feel like
They have
teams,
a couple of them.
yeah, they have a couple of them, but they're ones, especially high strikeouts, high ERA. Even
Yeah.
Ohtani, when Ohtani pitches, he's not an ace. Ohtani is a good pitcher. He's not great. He shouldn't be a Cy Young candidate every year.
Mhm.
Mid threes. There's only a handful of guys that can really be considered aces. So, like, yeah, you have the ace of the staff, but like, let's be honest, you're a number one, and even a lot of staffs don't even have that. They're anchored by a number two or even a high end three. So you
Yeah.
got guys
Okay.
that could reach that, but they're just not there yet.
I don't
But
hate it. I go through that in sports all the time. What's a
yeah,
star versus superstar? Same type
oh,
of
there's a
thing.
big difference. And then there's even tiers in each of those.
Yeah.
Like Garrett Cole's the best pitcher in baseball. I don't think it's close. But let's get right into the Central. Two divisions known for great offense and great pitching, right?
Yeah. Exhilarating contests.
Minnesota Twins won the AL Central in 2023 with an 87-75 record. followed by the Detroit Tigers with 78 wins, 78 and 84. Cleveland Guardians 76 and 86. The White Sox at 61 and 101, and the Royals 56 and 106. Pacoda, which again, they analyzed the season, play it out thousands of times to kind of get an idea of how things will go. The Twins reclaim their title. They stick with it. 85-77 is what they're projected. Guardians second place, 84 and 78. Tigers in third, 76-86. Royals in fourth, 71-91, followed by the White Sox, who honestly, we talked last week about the West with the A's and the Rockies. I think the White Sox are also in that conversation for worst team in baseball. I think they have a
Yeah.
truly
Yeah.
horrific roster outside
Yeah,
of
but
Cooper
with them, it
Fitzgerald.
hasn't been a long time, so they don't get the same hate.
Yes, but they are run very poorly.
Mm.
66 and 96 is what they're projected.
I feel like last year we had the White Sox, or at least I might have had them in like the top 10 to start the season.
Ben had them to win
Yeah,
the division as well.
yes.
I can pull up the receipts if we want, but let's start it off with the Twins. They added Carlos Santana, Manuel Margot on a trade, Josh Stammen and Anthony Desclafani also in a trade. They lost Donovan Solano, Sonny Gray, Joey Gallo, Kenta Maeda, Tyler Mahle, Jorge Polanco, and Nick Gordon. Guys, the Twins were good, but they weren't like standout good. They weren't a team anybody thought was going to actually be a World Series contender. Did they actually get better outside of Desclafani? Because I think Desclafani is a fantastic pitcher.
I think for anybody that follows the NBA, if the Brooklyn Nets were a baseball team, they would be the Minnesota Twins. A lot of really good players, and it looks like there's probably nights, series that they'll be good. If Byron Buxton, I could trust him to stay healthy. I'd be excited about his potential in this lineup to score a load of runs, batting
Be
ahead of
better
Luis
off waiting
Lucas
for Kevin Durant
Correa.
not to tweet though. Like that's more likely
Well,
than
this
Buxton
is what
being healthy.
I understand. So, in AL Central, they're a great team. In the MLB, they're a good team.
I think that's a very fair way to put it.
They're not really bad, not really good. They're just kind of in the middle there. I
In
mean,
any other division, we're talking about them as a third place, maybe high, maybe they
yeah,
get to second place, but
I
we're
think we're
definitely not
talking
considering them
about
a division
them
winner.
the way we did the San Francisco Giants a week
I think
ago.
that's an amazing comp. Seattle Mariners as well.
yep.
Next up, we got the Tigers. They added Gio Urshela, Keston Hiura, Jack Flaherty, Andrew Chafin, Kenta Maeda from the Twins, and Shelby Miller. But they lost Spencer Turnbull, Matthew Boyd, Austin Meadows, Eduardo Rodriguez, Jose Cisnero, and Miguel Cabrera. Miggy retired. The Tigers have a lot of promising pieces, but it just doesn't seem like they have enough on the pitching staff to really get them forward. What do you guys
You-
think we can expect from guys like Torkelson and Riley Green and all these young prospects?
In the realm of this division, I think they're perhaps the most exciting team in terms of they have a wide range of outcomes. I actually like their top half of their staff with Skubal, Flaherty, and Maeda. I feel like it's three guys that can consistently be good. And am a little biased. I like Flaherty more than most. I still believe in him. Some people are talking about Skubal as a Cy Young candidate in the AL. So I could see that there. And if Torkelson takes a leap, this could be a fun team to watch in Detroit.
I found that me and you have very similar takes when it comes to baseball, Dylan. We're kind of like on the same wavelength with a lot of stuff. I'm also a very big Flaherty guy. I really think
Yeah,
he can bounce back and stay healthy. He can revert back to what he was early in his career with the Cardinals.
I just
agreed.
think the Tigers is like a whole team, like a team on a whole. They're like I feel like kind of like the Reds or the Pirates of like last year almost, where they have some of the young guys there, and it's just like they're maybe there to do kind of good, but they might not be there yet. But they're set up for it in the future, definitely.
Absolutely. Now we got the Guardians who, I mean, I thought they were going to trade Shane Bieber. I just, the way that the roster's constructed, they have some good pieces. And I feel like we say that a lot, but I just think that they're relying too much on being the small ball underdog. We can use this as their mentality, and they're not leaning into actually being a good all around solid baseball team. You got guys like Stephen Kwan, J Ram, really great players, but you're not building around them. So they added Austin Hedges, Estevan Florio, Ben Lively, and Scott Barlow. Great, great haul in the offseason for Cleveland. Sarcasm. And they lost Cole Calhoun, Lucas Giolito, uh, Reynaldo Lopez, Cody Morris, Cal Quantrill, and Oscar Gonzalez. I feel like they lost a lot more than they brought in. And
Hmm.
honestly, young manager and Stephen Vogt, who every time I see his name, I still think they're talking about a player. I just don't think of him as a manager yet. He's young. I mean, he was just with like the A's and the Brewers like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to struggle, but their talent's going to prevail, not letting them sit in the basement this year, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, they could certainly have, what was it, 2 years ago? They were the Cleveland Bloopers and pushed the Yankees to five in the DS. I mean, the same pieces are there. They could also get to a point where we're at the trade deadline, they're third place in the Central, and they're like, all right, that's it. Bieber, McKenzie, gone, J-Ram, gone. Let's fully embrace a tank. So it'll be this is a team to watch on the first 2, 3 months to dictate what they're going to do. They're a team where the seesaw is going to go one way or the other.
I mean, what they finished what third last season?
Third, yeah,
Yeah,
76
see that
86 record.
that's I figured like I thought they were a better team than that, like to at least come in second. But I don't know with them, like it does feel like a seesaw with them, like Dylan said. Like it just seems like back and forth. And like last year, I feel like we were thought like all in on them, like trading away Bieber and just like embracing that, and they just didn't. And they were okay with just coming in the middle of the road there. So I mean, like if they're like in the same spot this season, like are they just gonna stick with it and just be okay with being more or less like mediocre? Or are they actually gonna go for like trying to rebuild and get better?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. They just need guys to bounce back and really guys to play at the top of their level. They can't just have mediocre average seasons.
Yeah, but it also seems a lot of teams are more okay with having those mediocre average seasons where they're
Of
like not
course,
really good, not really bad.
they could go like the Diamondbacks did last year, or they could just fall apart. But next up, you have a team that it might be one of the teams I'm lowest on in all of baseball this year, and that's the Chicago White Sox. They added Chris Flexen, Martin Maldonado, Paul DeJong, Eric Fetty, Mike Soroka, who I actually really like, if he can ever stay healthy, and Nicky Lopez. They got them in trades. They lost Elvis Andrews, Jose Urena, Tyler Naquin, Tim Anderson, Liam Hendricks, and Mike Clevenger. Honestly, I think this is a bottom five team in baseball. They have some great players, Eloy Jimenez, um, and what's his face that I'm forgetting that I want the Yankees to trade for. I don't know why he's slipping my mind right now.
Luis Robert.
Luis Robert, Lubob.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like their downfall, letting Jose Abreu walk, was like that first step into just not having a solid team. And I just really don't like how the White Sox are operating. They're gonna have to move Dylan Cease.
Hmm.
Luis Robert should move. Eloy Jimenez. These are guys that'll fetch you big time prospects and build up a farm system that isn't great. I just think the White Sox just need to give up and go full rebuild.
Yeah, we talked
Yeah.
about the Guardians could. This team should.
Yes.
And I'm surprised that we didn't see any dominoes fall this offseason. I for sure thought Cease was going to be moved. I thought the
Well,
hitters
they're
maybe
asking
would
for the
wait.
world for Cease. Like the Yankees were in on him, and like I
Hmm.
mean, they're asking for like three top five prospects, and nobody's going to give that to you, and you're not really in the driver's seat.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for them it doesn't hurt to see if somebody's more desperate at the deadline.
But longer you wait, the less you're going to get too,
Yeah,
especially if he doesn't perform well.
unless somebody's desperate at the deadline.
Yeah, desperation always brings out the clowns.
It's either they're banking on that or they're delusional and think that they can do something.
I want to believe that they're delusional though, because I just think that's the White Sox brand. Next up, though, with the Royals, they added Austin Nola, Adam Frazier, Hunter Renfroe, Michael Waka, Seth Lugo, Will Smith, Kyle Wright, and Nick Anderson in trades. They lost Josh Dommett, Zach Greinke, Matt Duffy, Brad Keller, and Jackson Cower. They also extended Bobby Witt Jr. 11 years, 288 million, takes him from the 2024 season all the way through the 2034 season. Club options in 2035, 36, and 37. It's kind of crazy we're talking about 2037 in a contract right now. Plus, he's got opt-outs himself after the 2030, 31, 32, and 33 seasons. I think that's a phenomenal deal. And I think the Royals, backed by Witt and the Pasquatch, Vinny Pasquantino, they're going to be an interesting team to watch. Could be like the Reds and the Pirates like last year where they had a great start.
Yeah, I like the lineup for this team, hitting wise. Witt, Pascantino, even Salvi's still there, Renfro. They got some good hitters there. I can't get behind this pitching, man. It looks like I'm looking at a bullpen of
Yeah,
starters. We talked at the beginning of the show about aces and ones. Does this team even have a three?
I don't think so. They really don't. Although I do like Kyle Wright. I do like Seth Lugo. I mean, I liked Michael Walker 10 years ago.
Like those are okay players, just those are depth pieces. Those are fours, fives.
But then again, who was their ace last year?
Frankie,
I mean,
I guess.
I guess. I mean, Brad Keller pitched well for them, but they didn't have good pitching last year. Who
Yeah.
knows who's going to come through the system and make some waves for them? I think they're one of those teams that are going to be really fun to watch, and maybe a couple guys that you don't expect pitch well for them.
I could see some higher scoring games with them too.
Yeah. So let's kind of go through it. How do we think AL Central is going to shake out? Can we all agree on the last place team in this division?
The
White
White
Sox?
Sox.
The White Sox, yes. But now I know the rest of the way I'm going to be a little different than you guys. So I'm going to say who I have going from 4-1. And then you guys give me yours and debate it. I think fourth place is going to be the Guardians. I just think that they're going to be a little lackluster and they're going to sell off and then fall off in the second half of the year. Third place, I got the Royals. Second place, Twins. First place, Tigers.
I am everything the same as you, except I got Twins over Tigers.
Gotcha.
So I also am of the belief that the Guardians will be mid and then we'll be selling.
What do you think, John?
I have the where I just had all I lost my notes.
This is
But I
White
had
Sox
the
level management right here.
yeah, I
John.
know. I'm giving an example. But I have the Twins. I have the Twins winning it again because I don't think the Tigers are there yet. And then
Right.
I have the Tigers second. I have the Guardians coming in third again. That's which could very well easily flip if they do decide to sell off the second half of the year. So it's very dependent. But I think they're gonna do okay enough that they'll stick that third, and then the Royals, and then the White Sox.
Gotcha. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be a crapshoot. It always is with these central divisions going back years. Now for the NL Central, had a lot of fun teams in this division last year. The Brewers won it 92 and 70, followed by the Cubs 83 and 79. The Cubs made a big push at the end of the year last year to make the playoffs. Fell a little short, but they were fun. The Reds 82 and 80. They started off hot, as did the 76 and 86 Pirates. A couple of Cruz brothers on those teams, not related, but guys that are just two of the most fun players to watch in all of baseball. Followed by the Cardinals at 71 and 91. Cardinals, I believe they're the oldest team in all of baseball. I think they have an average age almost 30 years old. Their rotation, as we'll get into in a little bit, just a lot of guys hoping for bounce backs. But let's go to the PECOTA projections, give an idea of what they're saying. They're saying the Cardinals go from worst to first, winning the division 85 and 77, followed by the Cubs 82 and 80, Brewers 79 83, Reds 79 83, Pirates 73 89. Ultimately, that's a 12 game swing. Really is anybody's race. 12 games is not a big difference. So Brewers start right there. The reigning champs of the NL Central. They added the Kraken Gary Sanchez, Jacob Junis, Reese Hoskins, Joe Ross. Brendan Woodruff, they brought back after they cut him. Wade Miley, who I think is always a solid pitcher to add, plus Jake Bowers. They lost Rowdy Tellez, Carlos Santana, Josh Donaldson, Darren Ruff, Victor Caratini, Jesse Winker, Corbin Burns in that trade to the Orioles, and Adrian Hauser, who they sent off to the Mets. Guys, I just feel like the Brewers kind of lost their shine a little bit. They were the like epitome of small market run great team, and I just feel like they just don't have it anymore. They lost David Stearns to the Mets. He's now their president of baseball operations. He was the brains behind the Brewers. And although it doesn't seem like the Brewers lost much outside of Burns, who is an ace, who they weren't going to retain, I just think that everybody else is catching up to the Brewers and their style of play.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other teams in this division finally opened up their wallets, is what happened, and the Brewers decided not to. I like Freddie Peralta as much as the next guy, but when he was your 3, you were cooking. Now that he's likely your 1 with Woodruff being hurt and reports of him potentially playing first base for them, yeah, it's all over the place in Milwaukee.
I didn't see those reports.
You didn't see those reports?
Woodruff playing first base?
If he can't rehab his pitching, they're gonna have him rehab first base.
Was it like Carlos
That's wild.
Zambrano? You say
I don't know.
hitting pitcher?
I don't know what this is.
That's actually
but
wild.
What will Yelich be? He's kind of had some roller coaster seasons. It's just not a team that I can get behind and be like, they're gonna figure it out again.
I was surprised they won 92 games last year, to be honest.
Yeah, me too.
But like
Now
Dylan said, hold on, but
yeah.
I was just let me put, but like Dylan
Go.
said though, with them spending the money, like the other teams finally opened their wallets up, I think a lot of the other teams, like their farm systems are starting to actually like bring players up, and you have a lot of these teams having a lot of young like potential stars coming up, which is, and I don't feel like the Brewers have had that that kind of success with their farm system lately, with like the amount of players these other teams are having like come up.
Right, like their guy is Frelick came up and
Yeah,
great, but like he's not J Rod, he's not
yeah.
Acuna, Witt, he's not these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Now we got the Cubs. The Cubs added Hector Neris, Shota Imanaga, Michael Bush, and they brought back Cody Bellinger on the Scott Boras special deal. They lost Shane Green, Nick Birdie, Heimer Candelario, Michael Fulmer, and Marcus Stroman. People are high on the Cubs. I don't really see it. I think the Cubs are going to be decent, but I don't think they're going to be anything special. I think they're slightly worse than last year, to be honest. And they're also really banking on Cody Bellinger to stick it with the same season and not kind of regrets to what he's been the past couple of years.
Yeah, you said that we usually agree. Here we do not. I'm high on the Cubs. I think that them getting hot at the end of last year, we see that kind of form into this year. The top 5 of their lineup from Horner, Swanson, Happ, Bellinger, and Suzuki, I think is going to provide a decent amount of runs. Talkman's looked pretty good for them in the spring thus far. The rotation, Steele, Tyon, Umanga, Hendricks, they got four really solid pitchers. And in the central divisions, that's usually enough if you can get some offense from your lineup, and I think that they can.
How much stake do you guys put into the Craig Counsell hiring as their manager, changing from David Ross?
I think you went from like a player's guy in Ross to a manager's guy in Counsell. We'll see how that pans out. Usually it more depends on your clubhouse, right? That's what the Yankees did when they went into Boone. And it worked in the beginning, and there's some days where we go, what the hell's going on?
Yeah. Next up, we got the Reds. They added Mike Ford, Brent Suter, Frankie Montas, Heimer Candelario, Nick Martinez, and Emilio Pagan. They lost Nick Senzel, Harrison Bader, Joey Votto, and Kurt Casale. The Reds are a team that really started on fire coming onto the scene. Ellie De La Cruz, Jonathan India, guys that are really, really good. And they're a team I'm actually kind of high on. I think in a weak Central Division, the Reds are going to be right in the thick of it. And if they can get their pitching right, and again, adding Montas, who I hate, I've said it before, but I do think that's a good signing for them. Get him far away from the Yankees as possible. I like Nick Martinez. I think Hunter Green's going to take that next step up and be a possible Cy Young candidate in a weaker league. I
I was
think
gonna
the Reds
say
are
if
primed to
yeah.
be a very competitive team.
I was gonna say if Hunter Green can limit the amount of hits he gives up and just continues to build them when he does, because like right, like he's like a strikeout machine, but he gives up a lot
Yeah.
of hits.
Did you guys know that Hunter Green threw a no hitter once and lost?
I can see
Yeah.
it.
And I bet on the Reds to win that game and they lost like 1-0.
I
Oh,
I
think
so
bet on
that's
the
that's
your
why
team
I
fault.
that
think
threw a
that's
no
why
hitter.
I remember the game because of your bet.
I bet on them. They lost, but they threw a no hitter, and I quit betting baseball after that game.
Yeah, it's pretty volatile in the regular season, but that's one of the worst beats I've seen. The way that you feel about the Cubs is the way that I feel about the Reds. I kind of don't see it. I mean, in the Central, I get it. Anything's possible, but I don't look at this team and go, that's a playoff team.
Yeah, no, I get that.
They don't need to be a playoff team. They just need to win a division.
Well, then they'd be a playoff team.
I mean, not
That's true.
necessarily. Just because you win a division doesn't mean you're a playoff team necessarily.
You're
I don't
in.
think there's a standout team in this division, and I really do think it's anybody's division.
I agree with you.
Next up, we got the Pirates. They added Chase Anderson, Josh Fleming, Aroldis Chapman, Yasmani Grandal, Martin Perez, Rowdy Tellez, Andrew McCutchen, and Marco Gonzalez. They lost Vince Velasquez, Jarlin Garcia, and Miguel Andujar. Big loss. The Pirates are a weird team. You got O'Neill Cruz coming back. He was, Ellie De La Cruz before Ellie De La Cruz.
Yeah, he's got a cannon of an
Yeah.
arm.
Cannon of an arm, just amazing on the base pass. He can fly like the wind. I like the Pirates. I just think they're the Pirates, and Nutting's a terrible owner. He hates fun, and quite frankly, I just can't trust them to play well for a full 162. They might have a fun, good month like they did last year. I just don't think they have the talent or the front office ownership group that can propel them into the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm gonna sum up the Pirates pretty quickly here on RotoChamp. They only have 3 listed starting pitchers.
Who are they? Let's hear it.
They're 1, Mitch
Mitch Keller.
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 They're 2, Martin Perez. And then, according to RotoChamp, they're 4, Luis Ortiz. No 3 or 5
I
listed.
think
Marco Gonzalez.
I'm just telling you
Yeah.
that's how RotoChamp feels about the Pirates. They're
But
not
I
even
think-
worth updating their profile.
But I think what's worth mentioning that Corey I kind of left out because they weren't really like an acquisition is their up and coming pitcher Paul Skeens, who's gonna
He
be
just got drafted though. He's not going to touch the majors this year.
he
Apparently
looks
he could.
so
There's
Yeah, but he
only
good
could,
though.
but,
3
like,
starting
He
pitchers.
could.
It's
I
it's
mean,
rare that you see a guy drafted and hit the majors next year.
I think
Yeah, but
he's
think
that
about
good,
how much
Corey.
money Livy
I
Dunn will
think
make the Pirates if he
Hey,
plays.
Livy Dunn, Jersey's finest.
but I think
And
Paul
she'll
Skeens is
sell
that
pirate
good.
jerseys. She'll sell them. Get him out there in August just to sell jerseys when the season's over.
Honestly, they might have to. They might just have to sell Livy Dunn jerseys.
They might.
But you brought up Mitch Keller, and we should bring up that he did get an extension. Very rare that the Pirates do this, but 5 years, $77 million, a steal for a guy that has a potential to be a number one or even a back end ace. Guy that had a really good year last year. He signed through 2028. I think that's a solid deal for a guy that wanted to be in Pittsburgh, but he could have definitely hit free agency and got a much, much bigger deal. Now, lastly, we do have the Cardinals. They added Brandon Crawford, old, Kenyon Middleton, old, Matt Carpenter, old, Sonny Gray, old, Lance Lynn, old, and Kyle Gibson, old. Am I wrong on any of that, or these guys are
No,
all
you're
over 30? I think
I
Kenyon
mean,
Middleton might be the
Matt
youngest.
Carpenter may be old in age, but he's young in spirit.
Matt Carpenter's best year was 30 games with the Yankees. But they lost Andrew Knizner, Adam Wainwright to retirement, Drew Van Huren, right? No, oh my bad, Drew Van Hagen, and Tyler O'Neill, who they sent to the Red Sox. I know Pacoda projects them to win the division. I can't see it. They're asking a lot of older guys to play really well,
And play a
and
lot of games.
we see all these teams trying to get younger and younger. and the Cardinals are going the opposite. I know
This
the
is like
Cardinals are,
reverse money ball, old
Yeah,
ball.
yeah,
actually, the Cardinals' median age of their roster last season was 29 and a half years old,
I think that's
which is up there in the
insane.
top half of like the
And they
MLB.
got older.
And they got
Yeah, and I
older.
think that went up more.
None of the guys I named are under 32 years old. I think Kenya Milton might be 32. I could be
Oh,
wrong on him, but he's the only one that isn't, super old. Like Sonny Gray's like 34.
yeah, I mean, the thing is, though, you could also make the case that the Cardinals have the two best players in the division. Like, I know that baseball is a team sport, but you got Goldschmidt and Arenado.
You
Could be
do,
enough
but
to win this division.
I mean, it wasn't last year. They came in last place.
Yeah, yeah, I guess, well, but it
Yeah.
was the year before that, so.
I don't know. Personally, I feel like I'll run through my predictions, worst to first, and we'll go from there. You guys tell me what you think. I do think the Pirates end up coming in last place. Feel like
It's higher,
you think
No,
higher
no,
than
no.
that?
higher.
I got them in last, agreed.
Okay.
I think they should be higher.
I just don't have any comment. I think the Cardinals come in fourth.
I got them one spot higher.
I got the Brewers in third.
Yep, flip-flopped for me.
Then I got the Cubs in second, Reds in first.
Flip-flopped again.
I do think the Reds and Cubs are the most likely two teams to be in the playoffs. I do think I would almost put money on them both being playoff teams, whether it's one wins the division and the other one's a wild card, obviously. I don't know for sure who's what, but I think it's very possible they both make it.
I think that the Cubs handily win this division, and by handily, I mean 5 games,
How far
which
over 500 are they, though?
I think the
Four
Cubs
games?
are 87, 88 win team.
It's fair.
So a little bit more than 4 or 5 games. I just think that they're the best overall team in the division, and I think what we saw of them as the hot streak at the end is what we're going to see more consistently this year.
So, as we did last week, we'll do it again this week. For the NL Central and AL Central, what is your hottest take for either or both divisions? What is something that, you know, not necessarily will happen, but you think would be a hot take or something fun that could happen?
Cody Bellinger wins betting on himself and has MVP level season. I'm not saying he wins it, but he's in the discussion.
I like it.
Let's see. I'm gonna go with like just the NL Central as a whole is gonna be one of the most competitive divisions this year out of all the divisions. Like I think it's gonna be the most competitive one and come down to the wire.
And like I said, I'm talking about hot
Yeah.
take, might not
That's I think
necessarily
that's
happen. My hot take, the Royals are a playoff team. Seventh wild card, the third wild card, that's 7 seed. That's my hot take.
I
That
And
like
the
I
it.
can see them
two-seeded
getting.
Astros defeat them in their series with a run differential of 22-3.
Yeah, sounds about right. The Royals are going to have a massive negative run differential in the season too, but
Hey, you
I
get
think they'd be
in,
fun.
you're 0-0.
That's going to do it though for us. Next week we are going to talk AL and NL East. That's a big one. I hope I can get you both on. I know Ben wants to come on, talk a little Mets action with that. Lots to do then, but that'll do it here. Outsider Sports, check us out, outsidersports.net. Twitter's Outsider Sports 3, YouTube, TikTok, just search up Outsider Sports. A lot of great stuff coming. NFL free agency talk. And we also got the NFL draft coming up. Really exciting stuff for me. Definitely don't want to jump off a bridge. But that'll do it now. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.